a tiny village used to exist in a distant land, tucked away between lush, rolling hills and tall mountains. The villagers farmed the land and brought up their families in harmony with the environment, leading modest lives. Although there were many complexities in the harmony, life was generally peaceful. One of the wealthy merchants among the villagers was Harun, who was renowned for his sardonic humor, crafty business practices, and occasionally dubious morals. It was well known that Harun would do whatever it took to succeed, including lying to his clients, cheating his partners, or exploiting the weaker members of society. His unfairness was whispered about as his wealth increased. Harun, however, ignored them. Life, he had always thought, was about the fittest surviving. He considered the concept of karma, the conviction that one's deeds would be repaid in kind, to be merely superstitious. The village was visited by a traveling monk one day. Veda was a man of compassion, wisdom, and peace. Despite his lack of wealth and belongings, his presence seemed to soothe everyone around him. In anticipation of his teachings, the villagers assembled in the town square to listen to him speak. Curious about the monk, but more focused on the potential for a quick profit off the crowd's enthusiasm, Harun also came to see what all the commotion was about. Among the many topics covered by Veda, Harun was particularly interested in his teachings on karma. According to Veda, the energy you put into the world, whether good or bad, will always find its way back to you. It is impossible to plant seeds of dishonesty and hope to reap a field of truth. Giving to others is also giving to yourself. Harun, who had always thought that material wealth and power were the only things that mattered, scoffingly rejected the monk's remarks. Harun reasoned that karma was a myth and that nothing would happen if he kept doing what he pleased. The next day, Harun chose to take a significant step in his company. There was a new trade route through the mountains that he had just heard about, and it would bring valuable goods to the village. He was aware, though, that a good-hearted man named Ilias, one of his rivals, had been putting a lot of effort into securing the same path. Instead of playing fairly, Harun intended to undermine Ilias's efforts. To make sure Ilias would fail in his pursuit, he bribed a few officials, falsely claimed that Ilias' goods were defective, and controlled the situation. Harun felt victorious when the trade route was at last secured. He stood in the marketplace, feeling proud of his newfound wealth, while Ilias watched from the sidelines, discouraged and defeated. Even though they were impressed by Harun's accomplishment, the villagers couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Harun, on the other hand, just grinned because he thought his actions were justified because he had one. As Harun's fortune increased over time, he opened up shop in more towns and villages. In the area, he rose to become one of the most influential men. He felt restless, though, as if something were always missing, even though he was wealthy. Because of an odd feeling of unease that he couldn't get rid of, he spent his nights trying to sleep. He dismissed it, telling himself it was a weight of achievement, but he knew in his heart that something was amiss. After many years, Harun's life took a sudden turn one day. He was ambushed by a band of bandits while following a well-known route. They deprived him of everything he owned, including his money, clothing, and horses, and abandoned him in the middle of nowhere. Once a man of immense power, Harun was now nothing. He was broken and desperate as he stumbled through the forest, attempting to return to the village. While wandering, he came upon a small hut at the edge of a clearing to his surprise. The monk Veda was inside, and he was greeted warmly by him. "Harun, why have you come here?" Veda asked in a serene, calm voice. Harun sat down, exhausted and defeated. "I'm completely lost. Everything I built, including my wealth and position, is gone." Veda gave a soft smile. "Harun, tell me how you got everything you have." After hesitating, Harun described how he gained power and how he exploited others to achieve his goals. "I understand," Veda muttered. "You see, Harun, there is a delicate balance in the world. The universe will find a way to put things back in balance when you take from other people, lie, and hurt them. Whatever you release into the world eventually has to return." Harun's eyes got bigger. He now understood that the difficulties he had encountered and the loss of all he had fought for were due to his own actions. Everything had been taken from him by the very karma he had previously rejected. Harun spent several days with Veda, taking in the monk's lessons and thinking back on his history. Although the self-reflection process was difficult, it helped him see reality. He was now bearing the full consequences of his life's work of harming people for his own benefit. After a while, Harun came back to the village a different person. He went looking for Ilyas, the man he had harmed so many years before. He offered to make things right and expressed sincere regret for the hurt he had caused. Having suffered greatly as a result of Harun's dishonesty, Ilyas listened in silence. He did not immediately extend forgiveness, but he also did not reject Harun. Over the next few years, Harun put a lot of effort into starting over, this time with integrity and decency. His wealth never reached its former levels, but he did discover something far more valuable: peace. He discovered that real prosperity came from giving back to the community and leading an honest life, not from taking advantage of others. Thus, Harun discovered the most important lesson of all: karma would always reappear in a subtle but indisputable manner. Good or bad, the decisions we make will always come back to haunt us in ways we may not always anticipate. Harun now lived his life according to the law of karma, which is more than just a theory. It is an innate reality of the cosmos. Knowing that the seeds of Veda's teachings would eventually germinate in the hearts of those who most needed them, the monk carried on with his travels, imparting knowledge wherever he went. Therefore, the Harun story serves as a reminder that the decisions we make today have an impact on the world we live in tomorrow, and that karma, for better or worse, always comes back.